Welcome to Gospel Reflections with Dr. Ben Safransky.
Hey! Thank you, Gregory, for introducing me. All right, I think the people have seen enough of you.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. So, as we've talked about before, the Gospel of John paints a really binary picture. Either you believe or you don't believe. Right? In today's passage, Jesus talks about how you belong either to the world below, right, the material world, or the world above, the kingdom of heaven, the spiritual world. Just either or, not a lot of gray space. So I think that God knows that most of us really spend a lot of time in the middle, kind of in between these two worlds. I think he gets that. In fact, in chapter 3 of the book of Revelation, John writes to a group of Christians that he says are lukewarm, who follow Christ, sort of. Maybe they are following Christ half-heartedly. They follow him, but there are certain things that they won't leave behind for the sake of Jesus. And I think that God, what he's really doing with this picture is he's challenging us to sort of pick a side, if you will. Because when you stop and think about it, if what we say about Jesus is true, then the only logical response is to commit our entire lives to him, everything about our lives to him. If Christ was there at the creation of the world, if our Creator, who knows us better than anyone, became human and taught us how to live, and gave us a way through the sorrow of life and through the sorrow of death to eternal life, then the only thing that makes sense is to completely follow that, right? And I think the church is telling us this during Lent to help us on this yearly journey of conversion and recommitment. Lent is where we take a little bit of extra time, a little bit of extra energy to set aside the things we need to set aside in order to follow Christ more closely. So my challenge for you today is pretty simple, actually. Take a minute to do an examination of your life. It can be short, and ask, is each area of my life fundamentally oriented towards God and spiritual goods? Now, being fundamentally oriented towards God doesn't mean that I'm going to leave my family and go into a monastery. It doesn't mean that I'm going to spend 24 hours a day praying or only ever talk about God. But it means taking each area of my life, so for example, let's say your job, and ask, what is my job for? What am I seeking? Am I seeking to do good in the world and take care of my family? Or am I seeking primarily money for the sake of money, or advancement or glory just for the sake of myself? Right? Or asking, how do I treat people? Do I treat them like they are fellow children of God? Or do I sometimes treat people like they're they're inconveniences to me, or like objects that I can use to achieve my own purposes? How about, where do I turn for answers to the big questions? Do I think about my ultimate destiny? Do I think about where I came from? Do I treat some things in life as more important than they really are in the grand scheme? For example, sports. Anytime I've treated a fellow human being badly just because they root for a different sports team, that is not being oriented towards God and spiritual goods. So I know this can be a little bit harrowing. If it seems overwhelming, I would suggest that you just pick one area of your life, maybe work or family or hobbies, to pray about and reflect on, and ask yourself, do I focus too much on the material world that is passing away? And how can I orient myself better towards the spiritual reality that Jesus tells me about? God bless you, and have a great day.